These are some of the scenes that have played out in recent days. Dozens of Nigerians injured in a spate of attacks across Gauteng, the country's economic hub. This series of photographs shows a Nigerian man being attacked by a mob outside a church. People take cover and rocks are hurled. Nigerian nationals living in Pretoria and Johannesburg claim they're being harassed and assaulted, and that South African police are doing little to help them.
Of course, some of the things that are being said, or of real concern to our officials there, is allegations of the South African police, or some of them, being complicit in attacks on Nigerians. And I should say that this latest one was not just Nigerians who were targeted, but there were other nationals of other countries too, including even non-African.
In recent days, homes and businesses belonging to Nigerians living in South Africa have been burnt and looted. It's unclear what sparked the attacks, but Nigerian officials say they are determined to get to the bottom of the matter.
There's a lot of anger, understandable, amongst our people, and concern, and also questions that they have for the government. What are we doing about it? What should we be doing about it? What can we do about it? Well, we are doing something. We're doing a lot, in fact. We're engaging with the South African government at a high level. We've summoned to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs the South African High Commissioner here in Abuja.
It's not the first time xenophobia has dominated headlines in South Africa. In 2008, at least 67 foreign nationals were killed in attacks across the country. Thousands took refuge in camps. More recently, in 2015, at least 7 foreign nationals lost their lives. Nigeria recalled its top diplomat in South Africa during that time. Robyn Smith, CGTN.
Well, let's find out more about what's going on ground. We are joined by Sophia Adengo in Abuja and Angelo Coppola in Johannesburg. Very welcome to you both. Angelo, let me start with you. It's certainly sad to hear that this violence has reared its head again. However, we do hear that top officials from South Africa's Foreign Affairs Ministry are planning to meet with diplomats from the affected countries, Malawi, Nigeria. Any update on those meetings so far?
Well, according to Clayson Monyela, who's head of public diplomacy at the International Relations Department, there's a meeting with all African ambassadors that's scheduled to take place in Johannesburg tomorrow. Media won't be allowed into that meeting, but a statement is expected to be issued soon after its conclusion. Monyela also confirmed that South Africa and Nigerian governments are in constant contact and sharing information. We're not sure what that means exactly, but we do know that the Minister of Home Affairs here in South Africa, Malusi Gigaba, wasn't aware that Nigeria had been interacting with South African authorities on the deaths of those more than 100 Nigerians in South Africa. Meanwhile, the Pakistani embassy has issued a statement to its citizens in South Africa telling them to take precautions, and also suggesting that a local Pakistani representative organization had arranged additional security and for those nationals in several of the townships in Pretoria that we've heard about, and also in the CBD in anticipation of that anti-foreign march that's happening tomorrow.
Well, Sophia, we hear in Nigeria there's also been violence. Give us an update on reports that protesters attacked and vandalized MTN's head office in Abuja in retaliation for the attacks in South Africa. And suddenly, are other South African businesses in the country under threat? About 120 businesses in Nigeria. And what is the government doing to step in?
Well, Uche, reports surfaced this afternoon of vandals who stormed the MTN offices and destroying property and also harming not only staff of the South African telecom giant MTN, but also some of the customers who were inside that office. really, as many have said, retaliatory measures towards anti-xenophobic attacks that have occurred systematically in South Africa, really experienced by Nigerian nationals. Now, this situation was contained, and the police have deployed heavily at the premises of MTN. Nigeria does a considerable amount of business with South Africa. About 120, as you mentioned, companies operate here in the country, and of course, they are under threat from what we understand as a result of the exchange that has continuously happened over the last 12 months, really with Nigeria trying to smooth out the relationship with South Africa based on these attacks that we have consistently seen. The tally has put the deaths of Nigerians at about 116 so far, unexplained and under the custody of South African police. Now, the Nigerian government has come out with a special assistant who comments on foreign affairs issues in the diaspora, and she has said that this is a complete setback, really, for the relationship between Nigeria and South Africa, and that there will have to be interventions beyond the two countries. Uche.
Well, let's talk about the problem a little bit more. And I'll ask you, Angelo, these xenophobic attacks, they've happened before, as we heard earlier in that package. Some point to a mix of high unemployment, scarce resources in South Africa, and certainly increased competition for space in the informal sector. These are some of the key reasons behind these events. Now, we also saw the Home Affairs Minister today warn businesses against employing illegal immigrants. Some say drugs and prostitution is another part of the problem. What exactly is fueling these attacks, Angelo?
Which the bottom line is these are xenophobic attacks. Locals are frustrated on a number of fronts. Unemployment remains a major problem here, and especially youth unemployment. Locals suggest that foreigners are taking their jobs. On the drug and prostitution front, local communities say police aren't doing enough in some communities to arrest those drug lords and those pimps. Monyela told me earlier that it wasn't just Nigerian nationals that were being targeted, but it was a range of nationals. Communities, he said, were after the drug peddlers and the prostitution rings when they torched those 12 houses in a Johannesburg suburb. The Nigerian Union of South Africa says it's against any form of criminality, and it stands with those communities in that regard. But they were quick to point out that locals shouldn't paint all foreigners with the same brush. And that seems to be what's happening at the moment. On the employment of non-documented foreigners, Gigaba came up very strongly here, reminding South Africans that businesses have to employ at least 60% of local people before employing anybody else. So it seems that this whole issue is now building up to a perfect storm. Hopefully, though, political leadership, which has been lacking in South Africa until now, will step up to the plate and will calm those waters.
Well, let's talk about political leadership in Nigeria. Sophia, we know the Nigerian government has called on the African Union to intervene. Are we seeing Nigeria's government taking a more hostile approach to this situation this time around?
Well, beyond the attacks that happened this past weekend, the Nigerian government has consistently petitioned not only the African Union, but also reached out to the leadership of South Africa. President Jacob Zuma making a high-level visit to Nigeria this time last year. And the purpose of that visit was to de-escalate some of the tensions that had grown between the two countries based on attacks similar to the ones that happened this past a few days. So it is this building on this dialogue that Nigeria consistently has been trying to reiterate that indeed the nationals in South Africa doing business or otherwise should be kept safe. And so Nigeria is taking a stronger stand now with the African Union, not only addressing the leadership of South Africa, but also including the African Union in trying to find means to keep the nationals who are operating within the South African country safe. And so that is continuing. And of course, after the attacks that happened in Pretoria, it will definitely increase.
Well, many thanks to both of you for joining us with those insights. Angelo Coppola in Johannesburg, Sophia Dengo in Abuja.